Girl, you cannot just skip over the fact that you are a licensed mortician. How did I become a licensed embalmer? Let's take it back. Picture it, Sicily, 19. No, I'm kidding. It all began when I moved to Istanbul, Turkey. I used to live in Istanbul, Turkey. I went there. That's a whole. Mes amis, and bienvenue to day 10. Mon Dieu, day 10 of my 25 days of vlogging. C'est moi, Jessie, your resident Francophile, and here on Cappuccinos and Consignment, I focus on lifestyle, travel, and finance. S'il vous plaît, take a moment to like, subscribe, and follow. Follow me over on Insta. I have a blog, and I am desperately trying to find my way on TikTok. So during these 25 days of vlogging, a personal challenge, I have chatted upon all the things. Fashion history, I do have a degree in fashion design and art history, and how I earn money as a content creator since I do not take a lot of brand deals, random spend the day avec moi. And today I am going to speak about a subject that I kind of mention in passing because it really doesn't suit the platform here that I have built, and that is the fact that I am a scientist as well. Oui, mes amis. Let me take a sip. This is about to get good. I also have a degree in public health, and my concentration was urban sustainability. And I also have a degree in mortuary science, and my concentration was pathology. So I want to chat more about the mortuary science aspect because I read the comments, every single comment that you all leave. It's taken me a bit longer to do so because I am on this vlogging binge, but bear with me. I did see comments previously about, girl, you cannot just skip over the fact that you are a licensed mortician. I am a licensed mortician, embalmer, funeral director, which are not synonymous. Depending on the state that you are in, those are two separate entities. You could be licensed in embalming or funeral directing. I am licensed in both. How did that happen? How did I become a licensed embalmer? Let's take it back. Picture it, Sicily, 19. No, I'm kidding. But it is, you know, aren't any questions that I get that are just simple. It's always a story. And if you are new here, I have beaucoup of those. So it all began when I moved to Istanbul, Turkey. I used to live in Istanbul, Turkey, and while I was there, if you all have ever seen me when traveling, any of my travel vlogs, you all know that I have never met a stranger. I met a woman who worked at, I won't say the name, but it was a big fast fashion brand. We began to converse, had such a great time. I told her that I had a degree in fashion design and that one of my focuses were textile design. She took me over to the factory and I met the people who could make things happen, and I became a textile designer in Istanbul, Turkey. So while there, Turkey is a beautiful country. I mean, absolutely breathtaking. And then that had been the furthest east I had ever gone. My travels were in Western Europe. So that was like such a cultural change for me, even with the language, like having to learn Turkish, at least a working knowledge of Turkish. So, I mean, it was breathtaking. So when I was not at work, I walked. And if you have ever watched any of my travel vlogs, which you should, I walk. It is ridiculous how much I walk. I took in all the sights. I became so enamored with the architecture of Istanbul, Turkey, because I had never seen anything like that before. At this time, I had already had my degree in fashion design and art history, so it was like looking at the things I have studied regarding Islamic art and all. Taking in all the sights, taking in the culture, building a life there. My grandmère in the States became ill, so I dropped everything and returned back to the States. I had planned on going back to Istanbul, Turkey, but a lot of things transpired, and I have to read about that in my autobiography. It was to say I was stateside. I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know what? We need to go back a bit. I did not tell how I got to Turkey. So I was an assistant buyer at the time for a big urban clothing chain, and assistant buying is not glamorous. It's all the mundane things that the buyer just doesn't have time to do. I was at my desk and I'm like, this is just not what I want to do. I had recently graduated with my degree in fashion design, but because I had taken so many marketing classes, so many business aspects of fashion, I qualified for the position and I was hired on the spot. I was at my desk and I'm like, this is just not how I see my life. Took a walk because I am always walking, went into a cafe, met a person. Next thing you know, I was moving to Turkey. Okay, now let's circle back. So I'm back in the States now, and I really have no clue what I'm going to do because I had really built a life in Istanbul. As my glamour did not seem to be getting any better, I came to the realization that I would be back for some time. So taking a very long walk because that is how I think. And if you follow me on Insta, you know every morning I take a very long walk now with my kids. And it just gives me time to process things. While on a very, very long walk, I started looking at the architecture in the city I was in, and it sparked something in me. I want to be an architect. I want to go to school to become an architect. Got back to my grandmother's place. I was staying with her at the time. Went online, started searching for the best schools that would accept a student with a very, very diversified background. Emailed the dean of an architecture program and scheduled to meet them the next day. Went to the university, met the dean. Since I was applying for a master's position, it was a lot. Like, that was a whole process, but got into the program. One of the first assignments that I had to do, because I still had to take like a lot of intro classes, of course, the dean wanted to know, why did I want to become an architect? Why did we all want to become architects? Everyone wrote amazing essays about their journey to wanting to become an architect. My journey started with the pyramids. I have been obsessed with the pyramid. I have a lot of obsessions. I'm a very obsessive person. I had been obsessed with the pyramids since I was a little girl. It was one of my dreams to become an Egyptologist. It's still not too late. I feel like I can still do that. But I was just so obsessed with the pyramids. So I wrote a very, very, like, it was thesis basically, and it did not have to be that long. But I wrote a very extensive paper about the pyramids. And as I started peeling back the layers of Egyptian culture, and I have been to Egypt. I wasn't vlogging or blogging then, but I feel like I have some pictures. I'll insert them here. As I started just engulfing myself with the Egyptian culture, I started looking into the tombs, the burial processes, the embalming processes, and the fact that today we are still finding remains from so long ago. For moi, that was the ultimate history. So on a walk, again, I'm always walking, in heels, I should add. On a walk while on a lunch break from class, I started to think, as much as a history buff as I am, why not contribute to the ultimate aspects of history? And that is preserving remains for archaeologists hundreds and thousands of years later to find. Bienvenue to my world. That is how I think. I went back to class. I told the dean I was not sure if I was in the right program. And if you could see the look on his face, because he moved mountains to get me into that program, considering I didn't have all the prereqs that most students had. Walked over to the School of Science and introduced myself to the dean there. Told him that I'm in class, like I'm an architect. I'm in class, but I changed my mind. I want to be here with you. He told me that the program had already started, and it is very rare that I take no as an answer. I told him, I'm leaving here with something. No, I didn't. But I told him, put me in the class. I can do it. As fate would have it, the first class that the instructor enrolled me in was the history of funeral directing. I could have taught that course. It's history. I went in there, of course, aced the class. They enrolled me in the program instantly, and the rest was like history. My time as a funeral director was really unreal. And I say this because where I landed in the funeral industry as an intern was just like really unheard of. Most people in the funeral industry, you are either second, third generation, or you know someone, or you're married into the funeral home. At that time, it wasn't a lot of people who just woke up and decided to be a funeral director. I was not one of those people. I had zero connections in the funeral industry. It was time to apply. I went big. That's my thing. Go big or go home. So I went to one of the most prestigious funeral homes, introduced myself, and told them I want to work here. Of course, they were like, "Who is this woman? You have zero experience. You have like a half a credit, but let's see what you're made of." I got there and I did my thing. I had the honor of burying a very famous presidential family relative, can't say the name. Insane. Like, I would come back to class and people are like, only Jesse would come up in this program when we are halfway finished and come in here killing it. So that is what happened. And my time as a funeral director, and I still am licensed, I still hold my license, I will never let that go. My time as a funeral director was so much about, of course, death certificates, pathology, causes of death, all of those things. I started to see how so many causes of death in the Black community, not including homicides and things of that nature, were so health related. So once I finished the mortuary science program. I had to sit for my boards, pass those with flying colors. I decided to school for public health and safety because I wanted to do my part, and which is why my concentration in public health and safety was urban sustainability. But I started working with local churches and food deserts to help grow gardens for communities that did not have access to fresh foods. That's a whole other thing. Soil sampling, water sampling. Your girl's a scientist. Yeah, so it's really, there's so many levels. It's truly hard for me to answer direct questions because it's never a period, avec moi. Everything is a comma, everything is directly related. And if after watching this vlog you have more questions, please do leave them in the comments. Again, it's taken me a little longer to answer them all, but I see them and I will get to them and we can chat about the things. This channel isn't really about that, but I will certainly answer those questions. All of that being said, Mazami, I hope those random accounts show you that whatever it is that you are doing right now does not have to be your end all. I never thought as a fashion designer that I would end up being a funeral director. I never thought as a funeral director that I would become a blogger. Like, none of those things seem to tie in, but I can tell you that take chances, like truly take chances. Gone are the days of, and don't tell your supervisor I said this, days of just staying in a place because you feel like you have to. Those chances, take those risks. And that is one of the takeaways that from being a funeral director, that this waking up is not guaranteed. I cannot tell you the amount of young people that I have had to prepare. I can tell you how many of my loved ones this year that I have lost. And each time it reminds me that we have got to cherish every single day that we have. And if you are finding yourself unhappy in spaces, and not that every day is going to be unicorn and glitters, but if you continuously find yourself in a space where you are not happy, whether that's your place of employment, I don't give relationship advice, but wherever it is, reevaluate those things and see what can be done different. Because we have got to make the most of every single day that we are granted. And it is a blessing every morning that you wake up, and you wake up with a sound mind, and you wake up with the ability to make a choice, because so many people didn't. So I hope this all helped you. I hope it wasn't too dark. It's definitely a variation from what I do typically chat about here on Cappuccinos and Consignment. But I thank you so much for your time, and let's get in these comments. Alrighty, ciao for now.